To accomplish great things, you must not only act, but also dream. Not only plan, but also believe. One of those who accomplished his dream is Steven Stamkos, Canadian with ethnic Macedonian and Scottish descent. In 2008, at the age of 18, he became a professional hockey player, member of Tampa Bay Lightning hockey team. Today, he's one of the best hockey players in the NHL. At the beginning of April 2013, he's at the top of the overall goal scoring race, leading the league with 26 goals. This is the video story about his path to success.
Here's a kid who grew up playing hockey and from a very young age would be watching World Juniors and, you know, probably thinking to himself, boy, that's where I want to be.
He's always had the love of the game, and I think that's the most important things for young kids. And he was dedicated to the game even at a younger age. You know, at practice he gave 100%. He kind of had the hockey instincts right from a younger age.
He's going to take a slap shot on the net to score the goal. Shoots, scores! Steven Stamkos scores.
He was always pretty skilled right from the beginning. He started in the house, right? So obviously down in the basement, and then we used our family room. He had the carpet there and the baseboards, and we put a couple nets there. He left a lot of puck marks on the baseboards, so.
This is kind of where it starts, and you know, it's kind of an old cliche for hockey players that you start on the pond, but it really does. It was just the way of life as a young kid growing up in this neighborhood, was to come out and skate on the ponds in the winter, and being able to make a profession out of it. It's just something that you know, every kid fantasizes. It's pretty surreal now to be back here and you know, living that dream.
Growing up in Markham, Ontario afforded Steven the opportunity to be surrounded by strong community influences. And it wasn't just on the ice that friendships were formed. School played an important part of his development, going all the way back to Central Park Elementary.
I'm still friends with a lot of the kids that I went to elementary school with. There was a pathway actually right on the end of my street that led right to the school, so sometimes it took a while before they cleared that, but you know, as a young kid, you love playing in the snow, you know, making snowmen, making snow angels, anything to do with snow. I was pretty fortunate. I got to come home every day for lunch.
We always strive to make sure that he did well off the ice in terms of school, because you never really know what's going to happen in your hockey career.
Whether it was playing sports or doing homework, he always wanted to be the best. So it made our job a lot easier. I didn't have to push him to do homework.
Steven achieved academic honors throughout his school years while continuing to excel and gain attention for his play on the ice. For his parents, Chris and Leslie, they needed to make sure their son made the most of his hockey ability, but also, and perhaps most importantly, had fun playing the game.
Chris and Leslie were parents that were always around. You know, that Steven wasn't the type of kid that he would get dropped off at the arena and then picked up after. They were always involved.
Steven saw that Chris and I were both involved in the community. You know, I played baseball for 9 years. Chris played baseball, played hockey.
They raised him to, I think, first and foremost, to be a good person, and secondly, that to give everything at whatever he did.
You know, there is a fine line between, you know, pushing you overboard where the kid doesn't want to play that sport ever again. You know, they knew where that line was, and they let me have fun, but at the same time, you know, they realized I had some talent, and I realized that too. And if I went in the right direction, which I did, obviously, that things were going to work out for the best, and they were always looking out for the best of my interest.
Two people played a prominent role in Steven's childhood development. Coaches Paul Titanic and Stephen Gauntz helped teach him important lessons that not only applied on the ice, but most importantly, off of it.
When he was 2 and 3 years old, we used to go to the rink and see him at public skating, and he'd be whipping around the ice at 100 miles an hour when most kids his age were using something to hold themselves up.
Mr. Titanic was, you know, my coach for most of my minor hockey career, and couldn't have asked for a better coach. You know, both on and off the ice, he made us a better player, he made us a better person.
I think the biggest thing for me was allowing him to develop, as opposed to trying to push him or trying to force him into a certain direction. So my coaching style is somewhat laid back, and I'm not on people every second.
I give him all the credit in the world for my development as a hockey player coming up, and you know, I think that separates him from a lot of people, especially as a young kid. You know, if the coach is always in your ear about certain things, you think about that too much on the ice. You know, your main goal is to go out and have fun. And we respected him a lot. I mean, he was a teacher at my high school as well.
He wasn't the type of kid that had to be nagged to get work done. He wanted to be recognized as an academic person as well as an athletic person. Stephen Gauntz was, you know, kind of the glue that kept our team together. Was highly respected by the players because they knew that he was a sound, responsible type of man, and that they could count on him.
He really provided a lot of positive feedback, very dedicated to providing the kids the best practice facilities in ice time, and getting them into the top end tournaments so they can really determine how good they are as a team as well as individually.
He just made sure that everything was, you know, organized and in place, and he was always around us. He was making sure we were, you know, staying out of trouble and you know, focusing on the game at hand.
The key thing about Stephen and Paul, the coach, is that they taught the kids to play well on the ice, but they also taught them valuable lessons on how to handle themselves off the ice.
We probably had the classiest team around, and we had the best team around. It was a combination of both, and him and Stephen Gauntz were there to make sure that we always had that type of team no matter who we brought in, and it's definitely benefited us a lot.
As he got a bit older, around 12, 13, he started to do off-ice workouts to try to get a little bit bigger and stronger. So he's always had the dedication and the drive to do well in hockey.
I think one of the great things that they did was, as it became obvious that Stephen was going to be an outstanding player, they stood back a little and didn't, you know, they weren't forcing him all the time. They helped him, they nurtured him, but they didn't get him to the point where he disliked playing or going to the rink, where he was feeling forced. So I think they helped a lot in that way.
Yeah, I kind of think that they could have done a better job than what they did.
For most of his minor hockey career in Markham, Stephen played with kids older than himself. And though skilled enough to shine, he often heard that he was too small to progress to the next level. But with his team's successes and his off-the-chart numbers of 105 goals and 92 assists and only 67 games for the Markham Midget League, all done at the ripe old age of 15, the next chapter in the Steven Stamkos story was about to be written.
The summer before I was eligible for the OHL draft, that I went through a 3 or 4 inch growth spurt, and then people started to notice, hey, you know, this kid could be good if he keeps progressing the way he has been the last couple of years.
You just never know how hockey players are going to turn out, but he always demonstrated that he could handle every age level.
Sarnia thought I was pretty good and took me first overall, and that's when I knew, you know, hey, if I keep working hard and I keep progressing, I'm going to have a shot at the NHL.
It wasn't until, I guess, first overall pick in the OHL, sort of hit us. People would tell us, you know, he's got a gift, and we just sort of said, yeah, you know, that's great, you know, and we just continued to encourage him to play the best he could.
I had a great experience in Sarnia, had great coaching staff, great billets, great teammates. I came into a perfect situation where, you know, I played a lot right away. I was on the power play. I was in an area where I could, you know, really, you know, be the player that I was in minor hockey and keep that up in OHL, and I was able to do that.
He had a wonderful billet parents in Sandy and Andrew Shaw. We didn't hear any, I'm homesick. No, he was in a good family, and as parents, as a mother, that was very important for me to know.
He never wanted to come home. He actually enjoyed the experience right from day one. He never said once that he wasn't having a good time.
Obviously, being 16 years old, it's tough to make the adjustment. You have to go to a new high school where you don't know anyone. You're used to playing with the same guys for 7-8 years in minor hockey, and now you're the youngest guy in the team. For me, I'm a pretty outgoing guy. You know, I like you know, adventures and changes and stuff like that. And you know, those were probably the most fun 2 years of my life so far. That'll always have a special place in my heart.
I guess once he turned 17 in the OHL, playing for Team Canada at the World Junior last year, I kind of figured that he had a good opportunity to play in the NHL one day.
The start of our new ownership group. I can't think of a better way than our first pick from the Sarnia Sting, Stamkos.
We were so proud of Steven. At the draft, we have a lot of Steven supporters who have watched Steven grow since, you know, playing in Markham, you know, at the age of 9 all the way to 16.
It's quite an honor to be selected first of all overall in the NHL draft. I mean, we had no clue going into the OHL that you know, he would be considered that high. So it was just a great experience for Steven as well as for our family and friends.
When I was drafted first overall, you know, the first time in Sarnia, you know, that's when you go through the whole learning process and how to deal with the media and how to deal with the pressure. And when I got drafted in Tampa, I knew what to expect. Obviously, it's on a bigger stage, but you know, I'm comfortable with the media now. I'm comfortable with the pressure.
We always taught Steven, you know, as a young child, don't brag about your successes. You know, if other people want to talk about you, let them talk about you.
He has a pretty good head on his shoulders, and all we try to do is to ensure that he's level-headed about everything, which he is. And obviously, he puts more pressure on himself than my wife and I do.
My parents from day one have always, you know, instilled that mentality of, you know, however much success that you have, you always have to stay, you know, humble and stay grounded.
Following draft day, Steven headed to Tampa to meet the local media and members of the organization. Training camp found him playing alongside Lightning All-Stars Vinny LeCavalier and Marty St. Louis. But it wasn't until the team's first preseason game in Pittsburgh that the reality of his professional life truly hit him and his family.
We drove down to Pittsburgh as a family, and he actually took the opening face-off against Crosby, and we kind of looked at each other and we go, wow, I go, is this real?
That's a tough game for me to even remember, all the emotions heading in. You're so filled with excitement and nervousness about playing your first NHL game, and then you face off against Sidney Crosby.
I don't think it's hit me yet still. It's very overwhelming. When I first saw the jersey on and realized, oh my God, like this is huge.
It was a great feeling to see, you know, him skating around the ice with the name Stamkos on the back.
I felt like I was in a video game. I felt like I was at home playing NHL 2008, and you're taking a jog against Sidney Crosby. That's how you know, excited and nervous I was at the same time. To play that game was a great feeling for me, and scoring the shootout winner. Couldn't have asked for a better start and a better finish to my NHL first experience. You get to a certain age where you have to focus on one certain sport, and when I had that decision to make, it was hockey. That was my first love, and something that, you know, it got me started when I was, you know, 2 years old. Burning right now.
We knew he had the skill. We knew that he had the passion. But Steven did all the hard work. We just sort of guided him through and gave him the opportunity. When Steven got drafted, It was a very proud day for us. You know, he had his next step, the next stage in life was to go out there and prove to everybody that he belonged there, and that's what he's done.
Stamkos takes his man to the board. He scores! He blasts it home from the top of the... He turns it by.
A good hockey player plays where the puck is. A great hockey player plays where the puck is going to be. We hope that Stamkos' continued production and strong play can help the Lightning move their way up the Eastern Conference standings.